the minute you put them in two-story up here where nobody ever sees them, I just don't think that's the image we're trying to.
So I don't know if any of you have ever been to Concord's City Hall. It's a plaza, and there are 4 buildings, and then the council chambers floats in the center as a freestanding object. It's all paved, it's very regular, it's, you know, they connect with breezeways between them. But there's a building department building, there's a city administration building, there's a council chambers building. You know, they're all different building structures on a campus. And that's kind of what, I mean, they got to be able to do a nice square shape and a, you know, nice, really perfect courtyard arrangement because of their site being square. We don't quite have that, but we were trying to get to a scheme that preserves a one-story feel, and each function, I mean, some can be grouped together, we're doing that, but each function, you know, kind of is represented by a different structure, clustered on a campus.
As a real estate developer, to me, that means inflexibility.
It
You are
does,
wedded
that
to
is one of the
forever.
things that you give
Yeah.
up.
And I don't think that we want that at all.
So
Yeah.
what we should try and do then in all schemes, I just wanna be clear. Number one, should we have any scheme that is only one story? Because then we will get some large footprints, especially if we don't break them up like this. And then number two, should we, well, I guess, should we always then be looking for larger structures? And in no case, 2-story or 1-story, break them apart so much.
I would
Yeah.
say yes.
I mean, again, I don't know which is the front and which is the back
Right.
of option 2. And this parking along Fair Oaks, I think, is gonna be ugly. We need to, you know, do landscape and screening and pretty things there, so that, anyway, not like it is now. I think it has to be
Right.
better than what it is now. But where's our main entrance? Where's our, where's the front of us? Where's our, I just,
There's a front door.
yeah, where's the front door?
So,
Go ahead.
Can I go?
Yes, I'm sorry.
okay, so on, I think option 2, the one thing I don't like in all of these is there's not a central square around which our buildings are situated. And I think the best option for that is in number 2. There's some, and I kind of made a circle between these 3 trees,
Yeah.
which might be a fountain or might be the center. And I would take the big square library and do just what Elizabeth said. I'd push it into the crotch of what is currently the council chambers, and maybe, you know, we don't need the whole end of this council chambers. If this is going to be part of the library, I'd see this as the entry to the library. We can have display cases on the side. Maybe there's, you know, the Friends of the Library has a little book area that they offer, and there's an interactive panel that you come into, and then, no, I'm just saying, and then out here it opens up into the library, which is your square building. Just pull it right in and not have separate buildings. I would, where you've got the littler library building off to the top, if you're gonna have a separate council chambers in this iteration, then maybe that becomes the council chambers, and you pull the police and the administration to the other side of the center. So you've got now 3 buildings that go around a center. I think we need that.
And they don't have to.
I'd like to see that in every one of our
Completely
proposals,
square
because
buildings.
we need a center.
We do.
We have
And
to
I
have-
like the idea of testing Ashfield as a cul-de-sac. I
Yeah.
don't particularly like it. I think the community will hate it, but I think it's worth testing. I think it's a good idea to test. I love what you've done with Station Lane in terms of preserving the trees and letting Station Lane divide.
I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, that's not.
Okay.
So I don't know why you can't preserve more of those trees along Station Lane there.
Which ones?
Well, the ones that are Xed. on the-
Those, you know, these ones right here, that's
Yeah.
just, we can save these. It's
What
just,
about these?
those, it's because the road comes in.
Oh, so if you're
wiggles-
trying to save these,
Right,
those
it's a
little
tree.
guys.
Right,
are
when we break
sacrificed.
up, we're trying to sacrifice or save the big oak, and to do that, we're gonna have to take out some of these smaller oaks back in here. So it's,
Okay,
but it's,
some of these trees are not
Yeah, they're probably.
They're
Right.
scrubby.
Right.
And that's what we aim for, and this
Got
one
it,
we took
okay.
out the scrubby guys.
Well,
to say-
anyway, yeah, I just,
Okay, we should go.
okay, 3. We've got 20 minutes. Yes,
Okay.
you're up.
So, at first, I hated that we brought the street through, and then the longer I looked at it, I thought, what's wrong with it? Because nobody's gonna walk from the library to see George, except nobody. They report to the San Mateo County, they don't report to you either, right? There's no traffic across that street. And I thought, oh, well, okay. And it allows you to get a lot of surface parking in. You can, I don't like station line coming through like that. To me, it's just way too industrial. But maybe there is some parking off Maple, like if we do a play area, like Rick was suggesting, which I think is actually pretty good idea to activate that space, because people will come, they'll check out books and then they'll go sit outside and watch kids, which is nice. What I wondered is, if this is here and you want to create a plaza feeling, you turn these buildings and make a U shape that faces the library.
Right.
It addresses the library. It's very clear that the front of the building is on Ashfield. The police can be whatever wing or back.
Yeah,
or
actually, I
whatever.
like that thought.
And then the library can do, because that's kind of what's gonna happen if you keep this, make it part of it, you're gonna get a building that sort of does that. Right, you're gonna kind of, you could go straight, but you're instinctively gonna reflect this in a different shape. And now you got two buildings sort of embracing each other across, you know, you're gonna wanna tame the street a little bit with a crosswalk for the occasional person that goes across, but not many. And then you put your sculpture here, and you put your other one over here, you got a pair of them, you know? Yeah.
And this one, you're okay with the fact that we're trying to preserve this building for the council chambers? That's the idea.
I'm neutral. If you can do it in I think, I'm a big lead fan, so if you can do it, if you can reuse it in a way that is additive to the project as opposed to holds it back, then I think it's fabulous.
What
And
about?
The first thing when you said you're gonna use this for the library, the first thing I imagined is this reminds me of the reading room, the children's reading room.
Exactly.
Mason City Public
Yeah.
Library, there were two little kid bathrooms right there, and I was like,
Love
oh
it.
my God.
Yeah,
But you need a person over here with the kids' reading room.
Right.
And that's a
Sure.
staffing problem, so maybe you
Right.
don't. But yeah, I love the idea of using it, as long as it makes it a better project,
Yeah.
not a worse project.
What about the location of the public works yard in this scheme? Is
I
this-
would keep it over here. I wouldn't move it.
So again,
We've got a
in-
building
so
that's paid
in
for,
all-
they'd like it.
Um,
This could be, if this is coming through, then this is surface parking, or it's public works parking, I don't know. It's council chamber parking,
or could you
because
say
I think the
open
council
space?
chambers wants to be over here,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, in the other schemes, that would be the idea.
So if you had a big U shape, you know, if that's council chambers, this is great parking for it, and you don't walk across the street to get into it.
So the thing about public works where it is, even if we kept it in that corner, it's not functioning well for public works. The building is just, it's not, they don't have enough yard space, the yard space isn't configured, there are trees in it. So even if we left it at that end of the site, we were planning to make it just the yard with its supporting sheds, and we had not been planning to keep that other building that's there. We were looking at possibilities that in some of the schemes, perhaps that building could move and be part of the cluster of new buildings elsewhere, but the yard doesn't work the way it is very well, so, and part of it is the constraints with the buildings and the trees that are over there. So, you know, what we haven't done is preserved a building over there for public works, which would make the programmed area we're showing elsewhere smaller. We'd be taking it out of the other programs if we're keeping that building over there, but we would still have to do something different with the yard because it's just not functional the way it is.
I mean, maybe I'm the only one with the opinion, but I'm of the opinion that you should test moving the yard to the park. And not in every case keep it here.
We only had the one scheme where we were taking it away elsewhere and just didn't show where it was, just showed that it wasn't on the site. So we definitely do need a consensus on yay or nay in any scheme at all, testing that it's not on the site. Because we kind of heard a little while ago, every scheme should show the public works yard.
well, I don't like having the public works yard next to a residence
I don't either.
Okay.
in this scheme. I don't-
I think it's-
that's okay.
And it's really it's important, it's meaningful location. with everything else that you could use it for something really valuable, like public works systems, things like.
And I like number one, where you have the access directly to the public works maintenance
Right.
center off of Station Lane. And
But you
that
can
was
put the public
dedicated
works
there.
personnel with the planning department.
Which is what we were doing.
That
We,
makes
all we were
perfect
leaving at the
sense.
yard was the storage
Yeah,
sheds.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, so we minimized the footprint of any built
Mhm.
structures down at that yard.
So you're saying this doesn't work or it does work?
We've reconfigured it. This is
Yeah,
not what's
that
here
does-
now.
That does work.
That
That
does
works,
Yeah, that
and is there a
works
reason
for
you
his-
wouldn't just put that on all 3 plans?
Well, that's what I'm asking, and I think we can,
Yeah.
yeah.
That-
And I
But
think
it-
that's what we're hearing.
But is there, what about Station Lane going through? Because putting the, precludes, if we put the courtyard there,
Well, if we did the scheme with Station Lane going
Number
through, we put the
two.
courtyard somewhere like that.
okay, we're gonna lose trees.
We
We're
would
gonna
lose
do one
trees.
without station lane going through though, right? So-
Yeah, we have 2
Yeah.
others without Station Lane going
Yeah.
through in that way,
Okay.
yeah.
Jim,
However,
did you have a comment now?
Station Lane
Number
going through-
3,
Station lane going through here is the only plan that gives people on the east side a way to get into the town center. Otherwise, they're
Other than El
gonna
Camino.
they're gonna go around, come back,
Right.
they're going through 2 stop signs to get back that way, the railroad tracks that way.
They can't-
Most everybody from Railroad comes around and goes up,
Station lane.
turns in Station Lane, comes in the back way.
They can't just come to El Camino?
No,
No, they're gonna either go up, they're gonna either come up Watkins and go across Station Lane, or they're gonna go to Fair Oaks.
Right.
So
They're not
Fair
gonna
Oaks is a
go-
little.
Everybody-
Oh, or
long.
Fair Oaks.
Yeah, they're gonna come to, if they're not allowed to go through Station Lane, they're gonna go to Fair Oaks.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that should be tested,
So
and
both
Lindenwood isn't gonna
options,
like that, I know.
no.
both
What the
options
neighbor, how will the
too,
neighbors here feel?
They won't like it.
The people on
Ashfield?
the will be happier or sadder?
If we cut off Station Lane, I don't think the neighbors here will like it.
Will be good to get the response.
I don't know, I'd like to see their response.
So-
I'm not 100%, I think that's
Just my
probably
opinion.
right,
My
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
but I think we should get that response.
so we have 2 options that have Station Lane going through in 2 different types of configurations.
Right.
One option where it does not. We have 2 options that Ashfield goes through in some form, one option that it does not.
That's right.
We have 2 options that with Station Lane going through will slightly relocate the courtyard, but keep it down in that corner. We have one option where Station Lane does not go through, where the courtyard will essentially occupy roughly the area it does now.
That's good.
So that organizes, I think, those moves for the roads in the courtyard. I think with the buildings, we have now talked about, the dead-end Ashfield Road option being an opportunity to create, that sort of central arrival point and a central town square. Option 1, I think we're going to use to test like more of the massive single footprint building and find where the best place is to locate it to maximize site use and have the underground garage, maintain enough convenience parking to the points of entry of that main building. And then option 3, I think we got some ideas about, since we're taking Ashfield Road through and convenience parking will be along it, and we're seeing the 2 sites function somewhat independently, we'll work on clusters on the 2 sides of Ashfield Road to develop appropriate building footprints that respond to that road going through.
And that the central area will become more of an arrival point.
Right, more of an
Yeah.
arrival, pedestrian,
This
you
is a
know,
plaza.
zone.
Regarding
This is
the
a
arrival,
plaza
Okay, so,
courtyard.
sure.
Oh,
I think
go ahead,
Jim
Jim.
wanted to make a comment.
Yeah,
My feeling is, I think the mayor said, you really need a front door.
Exactly.
A front door is important. And I think that Rick's comments were that it would be wonderful to have a square with the buildings all around it.
mhm.
And I mean, if you look at the library buildings in option 3, you could take these and either minimize them, make them 2 buildings, I think, rather than 4 buildings, and make it part of the square. I think if we could make everything around the square, it would give an excellent image to the town.
Okay, all right. So, Paul?
well, in keeping with Jim was saying about creating a square, centering the station, both in option 2 and option 3, helps create that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm looking at in front of the station a little bit, but toward that library, maybe putting a circular traffic roundabout there. that might modify traffic and also create a centerpiece.
Keep the tree.
That's,
What's that?
The tree's out there, right?
And you gotta keep the trees though too.
No, but I think that helps you keep the tree.
Oh, I see what you mean.
If it's in the center
if
of
it's
that
in the center,
roundabout.
right,
Yeah.
there's 3 trees right there, and
Well,
so.
one of them's big.
If you are gonna keep the council chambers, you have it expanded here, obviously.
Yeah, we do.
That might be one way of doing it.
Roundabout, so then you make your.
Now, this Ashfield Road entrance helps us kind of create a square, but it also increases the traffic on Ashfield Road, and I don't know how well that's gonna go over.
Well, but even if you keep
Not over
Station
now, yeah, it's not
Lane,
any more than it is now.
you
You don't
come
think so?
down
Okay.
Station Lane and you would you'd enter onto that roundabout,
Mhm.
and that would give you the same
Mm-hmm.
feeling, you know, and, yeah, people, yeah.
If you
So-
keep Station Line open, I don't think the traffic in Ashland
Okay.
is going to.
All right, that's legit.
And the roundabout lets you park, you can park the roundabout.
Right.
Right, and then you could park, have a little parking, off
Radio.
of that. Mhm.
And it creates a.
Okay, Clyde, how about you?
I've got no additional comments on 3.
Okay, Rick, how
Yeah.
about you?
I like the idea, I really think the idea of keeping the maximum number of trees is important. I mean, it's really a critical point of people's perception of the town. And not just perception, it's what they really care
Do you
about.
care about if they're not oak trees or redwoods?
No, I don't care if they're not important trees, but if they're sizable trees, I really care
So
about.
here-
The oak by the train
So,
station.
so there are 2 trees in here, and I see that the sizable trees are the ones with dots in the middle of them. So if some of these X's are trees that are just, you know, little tiny, toyon or other trees that aren't important, I don't even think you should put in an X. It's gonna, but where you have these trees with the dots in them, I'd rather see around, where you're coming out onto Station Lane, you've got the little parking next to the police station, and you've got the curve of, over here, but, you know, I'd take that out and make a little roundabout there, keep that tree. You really need to prioritize keeping these trees. I look at the 3 as, number 1, you move the library over here and create a central square with the buildings over here, and you test this all being a park. And number 2, you create a center that's a walking square
Right.
with the buildings around that
Right.
square. And in number 3,
It's like-
you test a center that's a driving
Driving
square
Yeah.
with a roundabout, and you,
To work
like
to
Steve
preserve
said, you
things.
turn these buildings and you sort of and I think you consolidate the library.
Yeah, I think
So-
those feel like the major moves.
Okay.
And you guys were talking about, but the trees is, we're talking about heritage trees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good talk.
Can I show? Can I show? So what I think here is that if we make this big roundabout and make everything kind of a round, the driveway and you round, so that either way, and then your side buildings are like crescents and not big blocks. And where's the library?
Yeah.
Library off of this?
Yeah.
So this is like the library wing, you know?
That's right.
And then you have, access parking and all the administration, and maybe,
That's right.
have a couple of things like
That's
that.
it. So what she said, I think that's important, is that all of your buildings, other than the council chamber and the 2 where you've preserved that structure, every other building is a rectangle or square.
Yeah, and it
You
is,
need, you need to put in curves, so I really like her crescent concept, but you need to, some of these buildings need to be differently
Yeah,
shaped.
we'll start shaping
I mean,
that.
I know you're not doing architecture, we're just doing
No, I mean,
master plan.
this is
but-
the time too, when we wrestle a little bit about, how soon do you start shaping, how much shaping do you do when you're still carrying 3 different options? Because we would
Right.
definitely be doing that when we zeroed in on one, but I think you guys have made a lot of good points that to understand the options, we need to do a little bit of that shaping now, just so people can understand the distinction and see the arrival points and see the entrances and that type of thing. So I think it is appropriate that we do a little shaping at this stage, just so people can understand the planning better. But do know that we'll be doing yet another refinement when we have zeroed in on one option, because we also are gonna do some block planning inside each of the buildings to make sure that the right adjacencies can be achieved and it's clear where entries will occur and how the departments will be arranged. So I think
Okay.
we have some pretty good direction.
We'll meet again next week.
And we're scheduled to meet again next week. I've had something come up, but I'm gonna have Frederick on my team, join Matthew, possibly David as well, see who's available, so they can bring all this back and discuss it through with you to make sure we're gonna be good to go.
Can I raise one more
Yes.
issue? We didn't really talk extensively about one-story versus two-story or anything.
Yeah, we're still a little, I mean, I left hearing that we should consider every scheme having some two-story, structures to it, but then I still heard some people feeling like there should be at least one scheme that only had one story.
Well, I was going to suggest that if there is a need for two-story, for instance with the police station, that maybe that's the scheme that does not have underground parking, and maybe the second floor of the police station can in fact be underground.
So would that be like maybe for, like their exercise rooms or?
Yeah, there are, so we'll look at
their-
the program for, what spaces could potentially go underground in their program.
But that wasn't Jim's reaction. Jim's reaction wasn't, I don't like the height, because I don't want the people to feel separated from me.
Mhm.
Yeah, but if
Well,
the
I'm-
exercise room is underground, that's not separation. That's different than putting offices in the second story.
You've got locker rooms, exercise areas.
Yeah, there's
Storage.
a lot of
Right.
floors.
It's-
Armory.
But you have to have it's a cost issue, but we can look at
It's
it.
cheaper to build it underground, and it'll impact the
No, it's
site.
not.
No, it's not.
It's not
Cheaper
cheaper.
underground is not the case.
It's way more
No,
expensive.
anything
It's all
underground.
concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Did
No,
we,
this has been great input, really
Yeah.
appreciate it. I think we've got a lot more clarity on
Okay.
being able to
so,
finalize these schemes.
okay, so we're gonna check in on the status of the police department benchmarking. One of our discussions, that we had before you came was, you proposed, square footages last time. I wasn't at that meeting, and, that gave some heartburn
Yes, it
to a lot of people. And so, if you could compare what the Bluebird Task Force came up with, the Town Center Task Force came up with, and then what you came up with, and why you, what?
And MR.
Well, yeah, which is the Town Center Task Force. Town Center Task Force, which is Nichols Melbourne, what they came up with, and then why your numbers are where they are, and what are the areas that are required by law to legally
Well,
have.
that's the same thing. Walk us through you
Yeah.
need to walk us through your numbers so we understand the difference between your numbers and what the Blue Ribbon Task Force and the Town Center Task Force had come up with. So, because your numbers are different than theirs, and we
Yes.
need to understand that difference.
Okay.
Staff can work with the consultant. We
Can
know
you
where
do
you're
that?
coming from.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and I actually thought I had already provided that, so
I,
yeah.
We didn't
we
get
don't
it.
have it, I don't
We
have
didn't
it.
get
Okay, so
I-
we'll work with staff and make sure that that makes
Did
its
we
way.
have it? I didn't have it.
Not into the detail that the committee was talking about. So we'll make sure that
Okay.
we
No,
get
but
it.
I don't have
where it
any
needs to be.
numbers, really. I have no numbers.
Yeah,
What are the numbers? I have the numbers that were handed out last week.
I want some numbers.
So are you guys still going, are you guys still proceeding on any of your benchmarking or gathering of information, or where have you left off?
Well, yeah, staff will talk to you about that. So are we going to expand our ad hoc committee at this meeting, or are we gonna wait until next week?
When the committee report was made to the police subcommittee, we requested that we be allowed to pursue a survey.
Yeah,
That was our request.
okay, so,
You can get that to Gordon. But no, it's okay, but these are the numbers that were provided last
But
week.
I think
I
what you
think
said
all
earlier
members
was
of
we're
the
gonna
committee
wait for this
should
to
be
come back and then.
provided with all of this information,
Part of the
and
challenge,
they were not.
you're correct, part of the challenge, Madam Mayor, is to try and keep it at the 40,000 square foot level. And if we're debating at this committee level whether or not we need a storage room here, because it's 200 square feet, or an office space here, whether it's one person or two, that's really not where this committee was going to be focused. So we presented a broad picture, and that's where the discussion was, wait a minute, this is too big. We needed to present more detail so that you could really discern some of that.
All right,
Okay,
Thank you,
so
Beth.
okay,
Thank
thank
you
we'll
you.
very
work
much.
with staff to
Yeah, thank you guys.
provide that.
All right.
Keep it.
Oh, I want it next time.
Yeah.
Get you a bigger one.
I brought my
Thank you.
own red pen.
See ya.
Yeah.
Okay, So before we adjourn, we've got 2 more minutes, I think. So I just want to get some closure about this police ad hoc committee and whether or not we need to add 1 or 2 more members if we're going to be calling and doing what the library.
We haven't been released to do that though, have we?
Well, I think that we can be if we are not going to use any other staff time and we're going to do what, sort of like what we did with the
Well, I
library.
thought we'd said, let's go forward with it.
Yeah, but I think then we need to add a couple of people to help with the process. Because for you and Dee Dee, just to be
Okay.
on that committee by yourself, I don't think that
I
that's
agree.
enough.
Yeah, okay. I got it.
But again, the intent is not to rebut and challenge and all that, it's to help this committee.
Provide information.
Our
Provide
objective is to
information,
do a
yes.
peer study and see where it comes out. That's the objective.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do we have any volunteers that would like to be on this police ad hoc committee with Dee Dee and Steve? I'll be happy to volunteer if other people
How
like.
much time do you think
Yeah, I
that's
was
gonna
gonna
take?
say-
Here's the goal. So
Yeah.
Gordon previously, did you?
He's gone.
I think he sent me a list of all the
I've
towns
got
that met
them.
certain demographics, but I have to go see what's in the spreadsheet, otherwise I'll just, I don't know where I get the data.
You're just looking at square footage?
I'm gonna be going for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so my goal is to come up with an objective screen or filter that seems reasonable.
Are you talking about this? This list that he sent you?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
It's not
and
on
then-
the
And then
spreadsheet.
get it down so it's a manageable number, like, and it's 20 or
Yeah, that's
15.
it.
Mhm. Sebastopol,
And then we call.
Hillsburg,
Mhm.
We split
Patati.
it up, but
You
then
know,
we have, or we
Coleman is
email
not
them, and we
on
have a
there.
form so that
That's fine.
we get the same info
No.
from everybody.
Los Altos Hills,
What's your
Woodside.
timeframe, Steve?
Before next meeting, I guess, but it's that a month.
By the,
That's next
To get
week.
it all done?
well, no, we're
Our next
meeting
meeting
next
is
week.
next
It's
week.
a week from today, yeah.
We meet next Tuesday.
Here,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So it'll be the meeting after that, which would be the,
It'll
probably
be the
the
meeting
first
after
week
that, there's no
of
way we'll be ready.
December.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be happy to
So
do
it's
it, but I
during-
can't do it for 3 weeks.
No, no.
So who's on this meeting?
I'll be happy to.
It's just gonna be data collection and calling people and talking to them and then sifting it, and then it's not meant to be off subject, it's meant to be
Oh,
on.
okay.
It's just the amount of time it's imposed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
If we've got 15 different places and we don't have to visit.
But you're not
No,
visiting.
no, no, we're not gonna visit. This is not subjective, this is not, do we like that their communications room is, this is just, well, what's your station bill? How many people in your town? So we're gonna narrow that down to a window, 5 to 10,000 or 8,000. Yeah, we're gonna narrow the window until we get to an N equals.
Gordon has already
Manageable.
kind of provided.
I never got the update.
So this doesn't have the
You may have got some I don't
It
have.
doesn't have the number of the police, so that was.
Elizabeth, if you can forward that to me, it'd be great. I got one that had like 150, it had some big number, and I said, no, let's narrow
It
it
did
further.
have, no, this one I think, well, this was sent to you.
Okay, great, I'll go look at it. But my goal is to get N around 20 or 15, at the very minimum 10, so it's representative. It's not handpicked, we didn't say, gee, I really love the one this time. And then we just,
But it's not like the library group where they went and visited and had meetings with all the librarians.
we may do that later, like when we're doing space planning. This is just meant to be, how big are police stations for residential communities, or roughly our size, modern, current police stations.
Yeah, no, I would definitely have a time.
And if
to
we
do
get a
something
big enough
like that.
N,
Okay.
then the data will.
All right, so I'm going to appoint Clive and myself to be on the police ad hoc committee with Dee Dee and Steve, all right?
You're great.
Good, there you go, all right.
And there's, before you think about finishing up, Paul's earlier question about who on the various committee members here, who's going to be attending the various neighborhood meetings?
So how do we want to staff and attend the 5 neighborhood meetings?
Can we talk about that next time?
Yeah, sure we can.
Because we
Yeah,
do
absolutely.
have one additional week after that.
Yeah.
Because they don't start until
Yep.
next week.
Right.
Okay, and give everybody time to look at their schedule and see. All right, any other business? Our next meeting is next week, here at 4 o'clock, from 4 to 6. Yes, at 4 o'clock.
Oh, I had one thing, so I just had asked Teresa, so I'll do it formally. The thing that they gave us that was printed off the website today shows our meetings every Monday. First Monday of the month or something, which is
That's what
not
we
true. So we should update that thing. The website should get updated with our actual meeting time.
That's how it's set within the charter for the CCAC.
It was, and then we changed them all, and we're not here, so if people show up, they're gonna be upset, because we're not gonna be here.
We can adjust the website though, so that it says this is the regular meeting date, but during this planning phase, it's been changed or something.
That's what I would encourage you to do.
Okay.
And is next week's meeting with HM, will they be here
Yes,
Yeah.
with more
Well,
modifications?
I hope they,
with what we
honestly,
Right,
I hope they
exactly.
come with better plans, because I
Well, I think
was,
they're-
Well, part of what she's doing
I
is
was
she's,
not impressed.
she's provoking reactions.
They're gonna incorporate what we did today, what we discussed today.
She's also provoking reactions.
Right.
She's putting some things in
That's
there
the
that she
agenda.
knows are gonna be stinkers, so people react to them.
She succeeded well.
And I think that's the right perspective
Yes.
for us to have.
3 o'clock for next
She
week.
wanted.
No, 4.
I know, but that's what this
What
says.
she doesn't want is to come with it fully banked, and the neighbors
Where?
are gonna
What
say.
does?
October 27th.
She had a few things laying there, I saw that
3
she
o'clock.
did,
On the president's
she's working on a few things.
It's a typo.
Are we adjourned?
Okay.
I mean, it's on our list.
Right.
That's correct.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I don't even see that.
No, down here. Oh, there it is on this one,
It wasn't on mine.
right there.
But they just went around it.
Yeah, we just changed the date at the bottom instead of changing the time. When we
It got changed at the top
Pull
and at
typo
the
out,
bottom.
Right.
Okay, good. Okay, meeting adjourned. Okay.